Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Rule 34 podcast, season 2 of the Rule 34 podcast. I am your host, Jack, joined by my fellow co-host,
Dominic Castillo.
All right, and so we are here 12 days late, welcoming you into the new year. It has been a very, very long time since we have recorded an episode here. Obviously, I recorded with Mr. Solis for an episode, or 2 episodes, discussing WWE's pay-per-view Day 1. But it has been quite a while since Dominic and I have sat here and recorded, and a lot has gone down.
Indeed so. We've entered 2022, which is technically speaking 2020 again, but just 2, so it's 2020 again. Yeah. We've gone to the new year. New year, new me. New year, new everyone else.
If I'm double checking,
yeah.
Let's see, 3 weeks ago was the last time you and I recorded. And so would that make it the 27th? I believe it was the 27th then, right? Or was that even further to the 20th? I know how to check this real quick without disturbing too much. It was the 20th, yes. The last time you and I recorded was the 20th of December. And if I remember correctly, it is because we agreed that we would reserve the rest of our time for family because of, Christmas was coming up and then the New Year's was coming up,
Yeah.
And we thought, why not, instead of trying to get episodes in at the end, let's just let's start the new year fresh. And then, well, a lot of stuff happened in the new year that prevented us from recording.
Indeed so. I think some little bit of confusing things happened. We were not able to, coordinate specific times. We kind of forgot, admittedly. But
we will admittedly
we had our own reasons.
Yeah, we will admittedly say, obviously this is going to be a throw-off to some people that were recording on a Wednesday. But I will say the previous 2 Mondays were scheduling conflicts, both with school and just personal, issues going on, with both of us. But we will say, admittedly, last Wednesday we were supposed to record in the morning, and we both just completely forgot. That is on us. But then, school has been proving to be difficult schedule-wise for us. But we are here after finally 3 weeks to give you all an episode and kind of catch you up on a lot of things.
Yeah.
With that being said, how have you been, Dom, within these past 3 weeks?
We've been pretty good. We've been pretty okay. We had a good New Year's, We got to have the family and reunion all together during the New Year time, then as well as Christmas and such like that. Speaking of Christmas, Jack, how was your Christmas? I don't think we talked about Christmas. How was your Christmas?
My Christmas was pretty well. We spent a majority of the day, doing some last minute shopping, decided to treat myself a bit, shout out Parks and Rec, did a little treat myself that day because I had some money saved up,
Right.
And, we ate some good food, spent time as a family watching different movies. We watched, we watched We Are Marshall, Remember the Titans, and then Field of Dreams to finish off the night as we headed into Christmas. For New Year's, I don't remember exactly what we did for New Year's, but yeah, Christmas, it was just, spending time with family, wishing all the homies and family well. Same thing with New Year's, wishing them all well and hoping that they would be blessed into the new year. And it was just, a good time.
I like that. Good to hear, man. Good to hear.
How about
about me? It wasn't too bad, I'll be honest. For me, it was a little bit, how would you say it, tiring, per se. Because I had to, since normally for us, we had to, for like New Year's and Christmas parties, we have to set up all of it. The tables, the food, everything else. So I didn't really get to have much rest. Not only that, but I had to work during New Year's as well. So, I mean, I guess that's that. But I guess some good news also came out of this is that we were able to get our cat back. So, yes, our cat. I call her the cat. My parents call her Gigi. Yeah, I don't have any way of changing it, but it is what it is. We were able to, how would you say, get her back. Because the people that we left her with, unfortunately, also were threatened with eviction because they were not supposed to have a cat also at their place. So now we have her back. Now we face eviction if she gets caught outside, of course. But that's where we're taking precautions, just so that she's safe here. She doesn't get start peeking out the windows and potentially be caught outside. But I mean, I guess that was our Christmas gift for the time being. Aside from our cat, I also bought my parents some things. I bought them a nice TV. I bought my brother a keyboard because I also bought myself a PC, and so he wanted his own little HyperX RGB keyboard thingy. Yeah, and that was that. I bought my mom some perfume, like the what was it, Dior? I don't even know what it was. It was expensive though, and I mean it's perfume. I don't even know why it's expensive. It's just perfume. Yeah, that was Christmas, New Year's. I also had to set up everything for the little family reunion we had. Nothing really happened on New Year's, specifically, but yeah, New Year's was fine. I had to work New Year's, funny enough. So that was that. I didn't get to have much time with my family because I had to work. But yeah, that was that.
Interesting. And how has the new year been treating you so far?
At the moment, it's a bit of a weird situation because I thought I originally was gonna move to Berkeley, nearby San Francisco, only because I thought the COVID was dying down a bit. Students could go back in person and stuff like that, but the Omicron variant came through and it hit people in San Francisco, which is just one Golden Gate Bridge away from Berkeley. And yeah, I guess the school decided to go back in person. Online for the first month. It went from 2 weeks to a month, and just to see how the virus spreads out. Hopefully, it dies down. But if it doesn't, I guess I'll be going through 2 entire years of online learning. Yeah. That's the situation at the moment. If it does die down, I might go in person. I might quit my job here, go in person over there, maybe get a part-time over there while I rent out an apartment. If I get lucky, I get a dorm over there. But yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's good to hear that you've been doing well so far since we last heard from each other, As far as myself, just holding up over here. School has started for me already,
Oh, yeah.
I've been in there for about a week. Taking 3 courses, just trying my best so far to stay focused on it all, The Weeknd dropped an album on my birthday, so that was a fun time and a fun listen to. Helped up the mood a bit after, what had occurred just a day before, but
all right.
Just holding up in 2022 so far. Wasn't the best start, but always just got to be optimistic and hopeful for the future.
Yeah, man.
But I guess we shall get into today's topic for today because it somewhat has to deal with heading into the new year with optimism.
Yeah.
Today's topic, I think I remember, I don't think I've ever said it on the podcast what it was going to be, but I told Mr. Solis our idea, and it is that today we will be, essentially, it's not like a top 10 list, we will be giving you our 10 choices for you personally to as far as games to play in 2022. And it's not necessarily games releasing in 22, it could be old games, and it could just be, hey, if you've never played it, here's your sign to play it, or here's your sign to replay through it to see maybe to see how different it was from when you originally played it. Because a lot of the games on my list, it was like I played them in like middle school,
Right.
when I wasn't smart enough to understand either like the story of it or the gameplay even of it,
Right. Right.
and replaying through it was like 10 times better having the knowledge that I have now.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, so start us off, Dom. What's one game you want to recommend to people to play in 2022?
One game. I got my list right here. Give me a second. All right. So one game that I really think that grew out of the shadow ever since its horrible launch when it came out was No Man's Sky. Now this game is like more of the modern type. It's not an old school game, but the thing with No Man's Sky is that it came out really bad. No one liked it. It got horrible reviews, but they got a huge redemption over like the past 2-3 years. And now it's like one of the most. It's like imagine like Interstellar. You know the movie Interstellar, Jack, with the yeah. Imagine that, but now you're the astronaut. You're the one exploring out like in space. You go into black holes. Time warping and stuff like that. I've never played this game before, I'll be honest, but every single piece of gameplay that I've seen from other players and Twitch streamers that it makes the game look so fun. Being able to go to like randomly generated planets that you have no idea what are its properties. Its gravity could be like immensely as powerful as the sun's, or completely loose as the moon's. And you could look at different how would you say it like civilizations and stuff like that, and you could even like travel through black holes and stuff, which I believe is the end game for No Man's Sky. You travel through a black hole because technically that is suicide, but it's still a good game nonetheless. Oh yeah, that's my number 10 pick.
All right. I will start off my number 10 with a recommendation from my dad, because I'm going to be 100% honest. I couldn't think of 10 games without repeating, because I didn't want to repeat too much from a certain game series or whatnot,
Right.
But so my dad recommended a game called Brothers. It is a very short game, and it's very short. You can easily finish it, as he said, like within about 3 hours,
Right.
And it just has an interesting story. It has an interesting gameplay mechanic to it, and you always need games kind of like that. Those short games that you don't have to worry about needing to have a lot of time on your hands to complete it, or having to invest a ton of time in it,
Right.
But that's the game he recommended, and I'll use that as my number 10. And keep in mind, these aren't in like order of like what we recommend the most,
Yeah.
I will say though, my number 1 definitely is my most recommended game, but we'll get to that later. Number 9, Dom.
Number 9. I would say the game called 12 Minutes. 12 Minutes is a psychological horror game where basically you play as like this, just your average husband guy, right? But within 12 minutes, what happens is that a policeman is going to come to your apartment, but obviously in-game, and then kill your wife and as you as well. And it is your job within 12 minutes to try to save yourself, the lady, your wife, and the cop as well. However, if you manage to fail, time restarts, and you get it again. You restart from the start. However, using all the previous knowledge that you used up in your previous life, you get another 12 minutes to try again. This game can be accomplished and finished like in 3 hours, but like the psychological horror element, knowing that your wife is about to die, and the fact that you have to like convince her that something bad is about to happen, while like using twists and turns that you learned from the previous life segment that you used up. It's like, to me personally, I played it before, and it's super like you get super immersed because you have to remember each individual piece of information that you learned before to convince your wife that technically speaking you are time traveling. You know what I'm saying? Like 12 minutes, like it was an absolute blast when it came out. Like not everyone was playing, but like the majority of people like on like Twitch streams and YouTube streams were playing it. And 12 minutes, personally, I think was an absolute fantastic game with a bunch of like twists and turns that you never believed would probably occur, but they occurred. That's my number 9 pick.
Nice. Sounds real interesting. That sounds really like an interesting concept,
Yeah.
My number 9 is Dragon Quest 11. It was, I want to say it's the first Dragon Quest installment that I know of that was on, any other console than a Nintendo console.
Right.
At least from like my knowledge, it's always been like Nintendo, like whether it was the DS, or like basically like those like, because that's only my knowledge. It's like I could be wrong. It could have come out on like older PlayStation consoles, and I might have not known. But it was interesting to play it like on a bigger screen because like I said, my knowledge of Dragon Quest was mainly playing it on like the DS and stuff.
Right.
And it's your typical RPG, turn-based, recruiting different people to your party, having to strategize, who to substitute in for certain missions. A lot of grinding, having to just face off against the random, monsters in the world to level up and, unlock different, spells and level ups and increasing, your damage, your defense and stuff like that. But that's what I enjoy. I really enjoy RPGs a lot, and it's time consuming, especially with how much you have to grind, but it's still a really good game nonetheless.
Interesting. Man, I gotta get more old with these old games. I'm too new school.
Well, that's the point of the list, right? Gotta recommend a lot of these different games to people,
Yeah.
But what about your number 8, Dominic?
My number 8 would be Red Dead Redemption 2. In also comparison with also Red Dead Redemption 1, but Red Dead Redemption 2, I personally really like it. It has a really good storyline with like really good characters that you remember, that one would remember from the first Red Dead Redemption game. Red Dead Redemption 2 basically carries on you playing as the son, trying to avenge your father from Red Dead Redemption 1, in which bandits and such has killed your father, and then the finale of Red Dead Redemption 1. Spoilers, but I mean, the game came out years ago. It's a really good game, only being because, how would you say, the world is very expansive, yeah. But, like, the graphics are very beautiful, like, the mechanics are very beautiful, like, tying up and tying up people, acting like a thief, robbing banks, robbing trains while they're on the move. Like, that's pretty intense. But the storyline of having to avenge your father from Red Dead Redemption 1, I personally think that's really, really, it's cool, in my opinion. As long as with the Red Dead Online mode that comes along with the game, in which you yourself technically create your own main character, and you basically have to solve the overall story of your character, you yourself being blamed for the death of someone else, which you of course didn't cause, but now you become, I guess, how would you say it? A bad guy to become a good guy, per se. But yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2, definitely a good storyline game to play.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever played any of the Red Dead games, but who knows? Maybe in the future. I do got like a ton of games on my queue right now that I'm playing through, so maybe it makes its way onto that list. My number 8 is recently released Battlefield 2042. It's a bit of a slower paced shooter than probably what people are used to nowadays, but it's been real fun, as you can attest to. Playing with a group of friends obviously increases the experience of playing it, you know. And I think what I like most about it is that it's very in a sense nonchalant, you know. There's no like, I guess because it is a slower pace, you know, it's like there is no like you know, high, like not necessarily high pace action, but it's like, you know, you can pretty much, you know, just sit there and play the game normally and like just be able to have conversations while playing, you know. There's none of this excessive call outs and stuff like that, you know.
Right.
It's just very easy and simple to pick up, play, chat with your friends while you're playing it, you know. Very simple game, and that's my number 8.
I like that.
What about your number 7, Dom?
My number 7, I would definitely say Cyberpunk 2077. I'm in between two games though, but Cyberpunk 2077 for my number 7 pick would definitely be there. The reason why, aside from the horrible launch that it unfortunately uptook on itself, Cyberpunk 2077 has like a really, really detailed world. Cyberpunk is basically, again, as its name implies, a futuristic dystopian world. Is it really dystopian? I'm not sure. But anyways, it's basically a futuristic world where like crime rates are going through the roof, poverty rates are going through the roof, while the richer get richer, and you play as a mercenary who has been wronged per se, and now you're on your way to, you know, climb back up through the ranks to solve this huge problem in which you've been, you the character have been inserted like this sort of like chip that has, I would just say, a ghost of someone else that's inside your head that's also technically controlling you. And you have to battle your way out or try to cooperate with this other ghost that's inside your head, which is the name of Johnny Silverhand, also voiced by the main man, Keanu Reeves. And honestly, the story was really well done. I'll be honest with you. Aside from the bugs, like the driving in the game, the futuristic vehicles, the fact that each individual NPC has I would say like their own lives per se, as was kind of sort of detailed in the trailers of the game, but like, yeah, it was a very good RPG overall game. That's my pick.
Yeah, I definitely felt like its release definitely hurt it, you know, and the perception that it has, because I haven't heard a lot about it ever since that, you know, but what can you do, huh? My number 7 is Pokemon X and Y. I recommend this one because it is one of the easier Pokemon games, and it is one of the less, I want to say, time-consuming ones because of that. I think still to this day, Sword and Shield is the easiest one, but the thing about Sword and Shield to me is that it was too easy, and thus, you know, you breeze through the game and you really don't ever feel challenged.
Right.
And it's somewhat similar in X and Y, but it's like it's more fun in a sense, you know, because you have the different Mega Evolutions, and you know, you have all the different team building aspects you can do, and you know what Mega Evolutions you're gonna want to end up using, you know. It has a great selection throughout the different generations, unlike Sword and Shield, where it cut out a lot of the ones you could even use in that game, you know.
Right.
And itself had pretty good choices within its region, and like I said, it was just overall easy to play. I feel like it's a game that like it's unlike other Pokemon games. Yeah, you have to do a bit of grinding, but like the grinding never feels excessive, and like it goes along well with the pace of the story. Whereas like other Pokemon games, I can tell you it feels like a lot of times you're stopping for hours just to try and grind your Pokemon's levels up. Where this game, it never feels like that, and it's overall just a fun playthrough.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
How about your number 6, Don?
My number 6, I would definitely throw in Beat Saber on any VR headset. I was supposed to go for the Quest too. But Beat Saber, there's no story. It's just a rhythm game. But the rhythm game, for me personally, I really love it. Only because you could play pretty much any song from there. But like, I'm not sure how to put it in words. But I just personally love it just because you could move to the beat, move to the rhythm. It's like an exercising game, kind of. You have fun while you exercise, especially if you play the even more difficult games. Personally, I like it only because it could even track your the amount of calories you're burning and stuff like that, and like the amount of points you could match up your points with your friends and other online folk out there. You can even play multiplayer, like up to like 6 other people. You can even play with and dance with those guys, stuff like that. But Beat Saber, definitely a good game to like start out in case like people have like resolutions for like trying out new games, but to also lose some calories while they're at it.
Interesting. Yeah. Nice. My number 6, one of the games I've been replaying through recently, Uncharted 1. So this is kind of a spoiler for the rest of my list, but I replayed through the Bioshock trilogy because I played a majority of it in middle school, and like I said, I was too dumb to, really get through the games well enough and understand, what I was really playing. And similarly, it's like with this game, I don't know if I ever finished any of the Uncharted games back then because it was like, again, it was too difficult for my brain to handle. Whereas now it's like I look at it and I'm just like, man, this is easy. But also there's points in the game where it's just like, man, I'm still making the same mistakes as before because I'm just trying to rush through it.
Right.
But it's been a fun game to play. It's still pretty smooth, although there are some points that you can tell like the game is dated with like the movements or like certain mechanics in the game that like are just difficult to maneuver with.
Right.
But it's still a really good game, really good story, and definitely like it. Like if like you play this one and then you see if you want to continue that trilogy if it's a game you really like.
Yeah, I got you.
How about your number 5?
Interesting. My number 5 would be Subnautica. For those who don't know, Subnautica is like a underwater type game where basically you crash land to this planet, unknown planet, but it's all mostly water, which is very, very little land, which ultimately leads you, the player, to explore the underwater depths of this unknown planet. But the unknown planet that you don't know anything about hosts a wide variety of like new materials and like very creepy creatures and stuff like that. Personally, I've never played it, but I've seen so much gameplay of it that it's super immersive. Only because it's a bit of like it's not a civilization type of builder, but it's basically you create your own base and you continue to like explore the depths. But there's also a storyline that goes along with it because you have to also search another ship that's also been crash landed, and you have to find the survivors for them. You have to find the survivors, but also fight off like really weird and grotesque creatures that that one would never see on Earth. But yeah, Subnautica, very good game, very good game.
All right, my number 5, I mentioned it in the last entry, Bioshock Infinite. This is the 3rd installment of the Bioshock series. It is definitely a change of pace from the previous 2, as the previous 2 take place underwater. This one takes place up in the skies. And though it keeps a lot of the same elements, like having certain power-ups and, using different weapons and all this, it is definitely a big change of pace for the previous 2.
Right.
Not one I can say I fully welcome, I'll get into it later, but, I would say Bioshock Infinite is better than the second one. The reason Bioshock 2 isn't on here, like the full trilogy isn't on here, is because I just didn't like the clunkiness of 2 playing as the Big Daddy. I felt it hindered gameplay in some aspects. It always felt like I was running out of ammo quickly, dying pretty quickly. Was, you know, you know, like it didn't feel like I was doing much, even with all the upgrades. And in this game, if it the upgrade, I would say the upgrades like is in the power-ups, didn't really feel as useful as in the previous 2 games,
Right.
or like in the first one. Like in this one, when I was trying to use my power-ups, it was like they felt almost useless at times, like they weren't doing anything to the enemies. But like other than that, it still has a really great story to it, and depending on the ending you get, it's like if you get the true ending to the game, it's really trippy, and like it kind of just makes you like question certain things.
Right.
But like it's a real interesting story to it, and that's my number 5.
Interesante.
Number 4.
Numero cuatro.
We got
I
13
would
minutes
definitely
left.
throw in. My bad.
We got 13 minutes left.
You got enough time. I would definitely throw in this game, which is a side scroller, but it's called I'm gonna put it in the title with 2 games because they're from the same storyline. It's called This War of Mine. The first game called War Child, and the second game called The Little Ones. Basically, what this game is basically a side scroller survival, which you have to survive through a war torn, nuclear landfill, town, city. But the cool thing about these 2 games is that you basically play as children, and you have to make like life-changing decisions to see who lives and who dies, and see, and it's basically a survival game. You have to, ration food out of barrels and see how to split up the food between yourself as a kid and other people, and adults being adults. Strangers, they're gonna try to take food from you or try to abduct you for the things you have. But I think the cool thing about this one is like it hurts to see like innocent children being put into this horrible like how would you say situation, right? Like a kid can only like think about so much of how they're gonna ration food for the survival of their own people, and stuff like that. But I think, especially the little ones, I really like the little ones more, only because it's kind of sad, just seeing kids trying to get through, trying to survive when they shouldn't have to be experiencing such things at such a young age. But the storyline, as brutal as it is a very good story, in my opinion. But yeah, that's my pick.
All right. My number 4 is Marvel's Spider-Man. Again, a game I played really recently, because I was like, hey, I'm a fan of comics. I'm a fan of Spider-Man. I had just seen No Way Home, and hot take, but I, for the most part, in like the movie wise, it's like I didn't enjoy Peter Parker's like story that they were telling up until No Way Home. Like I really enjoyed No Way Home because of like the direction they're finally taking Peter Parker and Spider-Man into.
Right.
But so I was like, hey, let me just play this game. It's Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man. See, and like if they decide to do the movies anything like this game, I would fully welcome it, because this game was just, it was amazing telling the story of Spider-Man and showing just the reason why so many people do like Spider-Man due to his relatability. Like you have Spider-Man doing all this crime fighting and forgetting to sleep and still carrying on with his day job and his relationships with people, and showing the reality that hey, he's out here helping against all these mass villains, but yet also here he is getting evicted from his apartment because he doesn't get paid to do all that. It's out of his own merit that he's choosing to help the city and stuff. And it shows the art, like it builds up all these things. There's betrayal in the game, there's having to go against all these different villains, having to lose people, having to reconnect with people, all this different stuff. It's just a really great game overall, and really shows why so many people love Spider-Man, especially for his relatability of, yeah, he's a superhero, but that doesn't mean he's not human.
Yeah.
So really good game.
Interesting.
How about your number 3?
I think I'm gonna go. What happened?
Got 9 minutes left, Saloon.
9 minutes. I'll be quick with this one. Five Nights at Freddy's, the series in most part, but the first game. Ooh, the first game. I mean, do we really have to say much more? Five Nights at Freddy's was basically one of the top 10 games back released in around like 2014, 2015. This time?
Yeah.
2014? Yeah. It's a very old game, but oh man, when it released, the world went wild. Oh man. Basically, it's a survival game where you use cameras, doors, and lights to keep and trap out these sort of rogue animatronics that are out to kill you. But it's the storyline beneath it that really sparks up the entire game, and the rest of the series as well, as to where it is right now. I would also recommend, along with the Five Nights at Freddy's series, the new game that just came out, Security Breach. Aside from the bugs and stuff like that, I feel like the game has grown up very much in a very positive way. Storyline, not so much, but in terms of like gameplay, using like ray tracing and stuff like that for a Five Nights at Freddy's game, I feel like personally it would definitely be a good recommendation for those like new coming in to definitely play the games from 1 to all the way Security Breach. But yeah,
you know what the crazy part is too? There's all that, and then there's the lore to get into, the whole story behind the game.
True, my man. True.
It's very confusing, I'll say that, but it's in the theory videos and all that are very interesting to watch nonetheless.
Agreed.
My number 3 is Pokemon Black and White. These are very old games. They're from the DS era, but it is one of the best Pokemon games I've played, and it's funny because people really crapped on this game when it came out because of the designs and all that stuff, but like playing it then, playing it now, the story of it is really cool. It's one of the best games because it has a sense of difficulty to it. It's just so fun to play through. It does take a bit of grinding because the old Pokemon games didn't have it where the XP was shared throughout the party. There's some great options to choose from when building your team. Even though they got crapped on for the designs, there's still a bunch of crazy good Pokemon in there with really good designs.
Right.
And just it definitely is to me one of the better games in this series that just continually has been good.
Right.
And with about 6 minutes left, I guess let's do this, Dom. Give us your number 2 and your number 1, and then you can explain them back to back.
You got all right. So number 2, I would put in Ready or Not. It's a PC game. I've yet to play it, but I'm gonna probably buy it soon. It's basically the embodiment of what Rainbow Six Siege should have been ever since the first day of launch. Ready or Not is basically a tactical first-person shooter, which basically you play as a SWAT police, but you play as the leader, right? But you use, call-outs, tactics, specific gadgets, but nothing like grappling hooks or, stuff of the sorts. But like actual, like specific gadgets that help you breach doors very quietly or, very loudly if you're, willing to play that sort of route. But you're meant to play in this Los Angeles sort of area where crime is written. Not crime is written. Crime is, on a high peak, and you're meant to save hostages, defuse bombs, and overall decrease the amount of threats there are in the city. But yeah, that's my number 1. I mean, yeah, number 2, Ready or Not, what Rainbow Six should have been. For my number 1 pick, I was debating on this a little bit. I'm not 200% sure if I really want to put this all the way through, but I was thinking about the game, what was it called? Midnight Club 3, which is a racing game. However, I don't think many people would like to hear this one, only because it's just a random game no one has ever really heard. But for my actual number 1, I think I will put it in place of what was I thinking again? What was I thinking? Either Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 1.
Classics.
I'm sorry?
I said classics.
Oh, yeah. Absolute classics. I would definitely go in for Black Ops 1 because of the story. The story on its own and the multiplayer as well. So many friendships were made. Black Ops 1, the campaign was an absolute classic.
Yeah, Black Ops 1 campaign was insane.
And, that's all I gotta say.
If it makes you feel better, I have heard about the Midnight Club series, so you weren't the only one who knows about that series. But
yeah.
So my number 2 and my number 1. My number 2 is Nier Automata. I've spoken heavily about this game, and it's to be expected because it's a really well received game, critically acclaimed game. And not only that, I mean, it's an RPG. I enjoyed the hell out of RPGs, and like my dad was explaining to both of us before we started recording, it's just, it has such replay value, and it's just so time consuming because it's like, there's so much to do. There's the side quests, there's, leveling yourself up. There's the different endings to achieve. 26 endings in total. Now, not all of them require you to fully play through the game. Some of them are as simple as dying, like, right at the start of the game,
Right.
But, if you're a completionist, there's 26 endings for you to try and get,
Yeah.
And you just got to replay through it all. It's just a really great game. Has a great story to it all. Great cinematics, great graphics. Those cinematics are really beautiful, And it's just a really great game with a great message, because it's, dealing with the whole thing about, like, humanity and, like, who's in the right, who's in the wrong,
Right.
And my number 1, with about 2 minutes and a half left, or 2.5 minutes left, my number 1 game to recommend to you into 2022, and it is number 1 on the list, and it is truly my number 1. The first Bioshock is a masterpiece of a game with a great story, a great twist. It just has so much commentary that really holds up to this day, and you see really a lot of things that could be applied in today's world.
Right.
There's great storytelling elements to it. Your decisions matter, when it comes to the little girls that whether you want to take their atom or spare them, that affects what ending you get in the game. I can't remember if it was this game or the second one. I think it might be the second one. I can't remember for sure, but I know in one of the games there's like the element of do you spare the people? And I think it's the second one. Now I'm thinking about it, that like you have to choose whether you spare or kill the people that you're after, But
right.
But BioShock 1, it was like the gameplay was fluid, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting what they're called, but the power-ups, that you can choose between, they all have different usefulness throughout the story. They're really good, and it's just a great story overall. It has great graphics that even hold up to this day, and like to this day, the twist that comes in that game is still one of the best twists ever, and it's so unexpected for first-time players. It's just so crazy, and like the game is just a masterpiece from its graphics to its story to its gameplay. Everything holds up to this very day, and I definitely recommend people to play it in 2022.
Nice.
But with that being said, got to wrap up quickly. I've been your host, Jack, joined by my fellow co-host,
Dominic Castillo.
I want to thank you all for joining us for another episode of Season 2 of the Rule 34 podcast. Here's to being consistent into the new year, and as always, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you, and we'll catch y'all in the next episode.